I spent most of my time not caring at all about school, at all about my courses. I spent most of my time, in fact, cultivating my relationships and understanding who I was as a person.
Hmm.
I spent a lot of time reading and like analyzing and just doing weird college stuff. Okay. Then I had to do that. I did a year of post-bac in order to qualify me with my shitty GPA to
Mhm.
be able to get into dental school.
Good, because I have asked you permission. Actually, you have given me permission for this, and thank you for being here today, Turabify. It was actually very exciting to see you on Insta and doing this stuff. And actually, Turab, we have connected before, and I see that we have so much in common, and we can have good, deep conversations, meaningful conversations. That's why I have always been looking forward to having conversations with you. And this is what could be better than that, sitting in the comfort of our own homes and just talking. So in the background, I see, is this your basement or your room? What, your music stuff is there?
Yep. So I wanted to say first of all, thank you so much for having
Oh,
me on
of
board
course.
here and giving the opportunity at least for us to connect, but also hopefully
Yeah.
for some people to see us conversing and talking about some cool stuff in life. Yes, I'm currently living in my mother's basement, which I am very proud of
Yes. Yeah.
because I get to have very few expenses and I get to strategize about life. But
Absolutely.
for the last 10 years or so of my life, I've been painting and making music, and just she's given me this wonderful opportunity to grow as a human being just all over the place. So this is my studio. I still make music all the time. I'm a drummer
Lovely.
by passion. And then some of the paintings, actually more on this side, is the painting studio. I'm actually going to have some stuff on sale on Shopify sooner or later, probably actually in the next couple of weeks. We're also having a large party at the house, which is going to be kind of an exhibition for painting and stuff. And I'm also going to have a place where I set up and have a guest over and talk about life, and then hopefully we can have some
Oh
stuff
my
going
God.
on. So yeah, so that's kind of the stuff. How's life with you? How's everything turning out? How's the brand doing?
Yes, my so I will answer questions turn by turn, whatever I remember. So as you know that I'm a certified life coach from Jay Shetty School. Before I was certified from Tony Robbins, so I'm a proud student of both of them. You might know them, you know Tony Robbins.
Absolutely,
I know that. And
absolutely.
do you know Jay Shetty by any chance?
Oh yeah,
Oh yeah.
wonderful
Okay,
podcast.
great, great.
Wonderful human being. Yeah,
Yes, yes. I'm so
absolutely.
glad that we're on the same page for this. So yes, my brand is evolving, okay, and I'm taking clients, I'm talking to people, and I love what I do. That keeps me going because I feel like this is what I always wanted to do, but I never knew unless I started into this life stuff and then life coaching stuff and actually getting into this, making this into a business. Now, I'm a great coach, but the thing is that entrepreneurship is totally different space that I need to take baby steps first and kind of sense what it is and what can I do in this space to make my services visible, available, and most valuable for the people that truly need them. So, well, this is actually about you. The podcast is about you, but okay.
Well, no, not necessarily. I mean, I would love to discuss because my whole goal as for starting this brand, for starting Turabify in general, is to give people the tools to build out the dreams,
Yes.
right? And me and you both know, being in this space, that there is a space for passion and there's a space for reason,
Mhm.
right? That and the thing that you were talking about is that reason aspect, the whole making the money,
Yeah.
getting the leads, being able to build out a team, that type of stuff. So my goal always is to improve myself first in terms of understanding these things, and hopefully in the process help someone in doing those things for themselves. So if you have any questions or if you want to think through anything about that stuff, I would love to give you my 3 cents.
Yes, absolutely. So I love what you just said, that work on yourself first, figure yourself out first, because this is the starting point, right? For anybody, it's the starting point is to get the awareness. And the framework, the coaching framework that we learned at school, and I will get you 2 cents as well.
Yeah.
The coaching framework that we learn in the school is ABCs, okay? So A is awareness. It starts with awareness. What is awareness? Awareness of ourselves, what we are doing, what are we doing in this, what is our purpose and where we are at this phase in our life? How can take this forward in order to serve ourselves first, love ourselves first, and realize our worth in this universe, right? And then um make a valuable presence or whatever we want to say existence in the world to basically serve and spread out the wisdom. This is the principle that Jay Shetty taught us. So awareness, and then number two is the audit, which is actually a coaching tool where we look at the different areas of a person's life and the health, relationships, money, whatever, so many things. The next is so on and so forth. So anyways, awareness. When you said improve ourselves, improve myself, it starts with awareness. So absolutely, it can be linked to the coaching world as well, that it starts with awareness, because you want to know yourself first, and you want to embrace your identity, whoever you are, with all your goodness and shortcomings, and kind of accept that, and where you belong in your own body, in your own self, and just love yourself unconditionally, and that's the starting point. So I can relate to that, definitely. I would love to hear
Yeah,
you.
there's
No.
yeah, yeah, no. So a big part of how I am currently trying to improve myself is actually based on who I follow.
Okay.
So so I went through the book Atomic Habits by James Clear, which to any of your viewers and to any of my viewers, I think is an absolute gold mine. If you have ever thought to yourself that you are not disciplined, that you have started something and weren't able to take it to where you want, if you are forgetful in any capacity, those things will be solved if you use the principles that James Clear spells out. I promise you.
Uh-huh.
So about a year ago, I started a little book club with my friends, and that was one of the first books that I read. And
Mm-hmm.
after starting to apply some of those principles of just like repeated, going and doing something again and again, making a habit out of it, that's I realized also how important the environmental component of his philosophy is. So
Absolutely.
manipulating your environment to actually have things that trigger you to be like, hey, maybe I should do that thing, or I want to remember how to do this thing. So just having a lot of that stuff around. So I was like, okay, how do I create an environment in which I am constantly learning about emotional intelligence? I'm constantly bettering myself in terms of my business acumen, in terms of my ideologies about finances in general.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I said, what better way to start than the very thing that I want to influence people on, which is social media.
Mm-hmm.
So I deleted all of my accounts that had pictures of models or drumming stuff or art stuff or just random people that like my close friends. Like I deleted everything off of that. I said, okay, Turabify from now on is a philosophy. So what
Wow.
I did was I started following all of these billionaires. I started following social media influencers. I started following really anyone that could teach me something about what I'm curious about. And I think that's something that a lot of people are missing out on
Mm-hmm.
is like how easy it is. Well, it's not easy. It's not easy ever to sacrifice anything, right?
Yes.
But how much of a fundamental change that will make in your life if you just say to yourself, okay, now my private hours are dedicated to building myself up as a human being,
Mm-hmm.
right? Getting
Mm-hmm.
rid of all those distractions and then putting into place the things that can actually take us to where we want. Um, so I say all of this to say that the way that I've gotten to this point so far is by following Grant Cardone, who is a billionaire, who is a philanthropist through and through,
Mm-hmm.
um, real estate mogul, has
Mm-hmm.
a multi-billion-dollar company,
Mm-hmm.
and he just does a bunch of events. Tony Robbins was one of the first documentaries I saw getting into this, but his mentor, Jim
Jim
Rohn,
Rohn.
Jim Rohn has passed away. I don't know how long ago now, but every single time I see one of this guy's videos on Instagram or TikTok or whatever, it inspires the hell out of me.
Mm-hmm.
It's every time. So Jim Rohn, there's this guy Ask Vin
Mm-hmm.
who makes videos about communication techniques.
Voice. Yeah. The voice guy.
amazing, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And on the business side, well, there's also Jordan Peterson, who
Mm-hmm.
as a young man I follow as kind of like an older man to kind of model. Um, there is on the business side Alex Hermosi.
Mm-hmm.
Alex Hormozy is probably around my age. I'm about 27, and he has built a multiple $100 million company that
Mm-hmm.
he creates acquisitions from buying companies, this and that. His
Mm-hmm.
wife Layla Hormozy, and then there's like a variety of other people that talk about finances all the time. There's actually a guy that I came across recently. So by virtue of having these people on my Instagram, if anytime I'm like looking for inspiration or if I want to procrastinate, I'm
Mm-hmm.
immediately injected back into the type of person
Absolutely.
that I want to be.
Mm-hmm. Because you want to reset, right? You don't want to get sidetracked, and you want to always reset and come back to your kind of default, if you will. Correct me if I'm wrong. Because you want to make
It's like
your
where I want
default.
to be. It's
Your
like where I want to be. The default that I would like to have.
Yes, yeah, that's yeah, the future you, I guess the future how you envision yourself, the future Surab, I guess. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah. So that was that. How so you have now been doing this coaching for about a year, I assume, or two now?
It's more than a year, but I would say the branding has happened. Yeah, it's about a year. It's
Okay.
about a year. Choosing a niche for life coaching is truly challenging for any certified coach, because whenever you come out of a coaching school, you feel like, oh, I can coach anybody. I can coach anybody I meet or talk to or see somebody. I can help anybody. But the thing is that niching yourself for a particular target market is really when you're talking to your persona, it's really actually your previous self, your previous
Mhm.
self, the
Yeah.
previous version of you, and this is the person which really needs your help, that really needs your help, and you can help best because you have been there, right? You have been there. So anyways, thinking
So
about it,
yeah, go ahead.
yeah, just thinking about it, giving it a lot of thoughts. I started with teenagers, then I was like, I can help these, I can help men, I can help women. But gradually it is coming down to myself. After you looking at the bigger picture and zooming it down, it's coming to myself, my previous self, my past self. When I was a young woman, when I was married, when I was having kids, and then juggling and struggling with all, among all those challenges that I went through, and rebuilt myself and gain confidence in my own abilities, in my own capacity. This is something that I can help with, and I am already doing it. I'm so proud of myself that I'm already making difference in their lives.
So Grant said something really phenomenal. He said a lot of things that are really phenomenal, but he said in particular, "What is your number?
Mm,
What number are you trying to hit?" And he said, at this point in your life, never, ever, ever restrict yourself as to what is possible. Restrict yourself to what your value is, right? And the depth of what you are willing to sacrifice in order to get there.
mm,
So he said, set a number. And if you don't set the number, you're actually making your life harder. Because the
mhm,
idea behind starting any sort of business, any sort of value business, is to actually reverse engineer that number. So, say for instance, your goal is $1 million, right? How do you divide that number up? What multiples do you divide that number up by? And you've probably come across this, that are going to eventually lead to that number. Now, a
mhm,
lot of artists, a lot of influencers in general, a lot of people that want to help people, this I have realized is a fundamental disconnect. It's
mhm,
always disconnected, our reason and our passion. And I and through educating myself, I realized that there is, first of all, no reason for that disconnection. There should be no reason for that disconnection. And second of all, that when those two are connected, that both actually prosper.
mhm, mhm. I guess they kind of multiply or expand more this way. What is the word? What is the better word for multiply? They kind of
It's a it's a positive
amplified,
amplify.
dominoes effect, or whatever you want to say. It's amplified, I guess,
Yeah.
when you combine both of them.
and I'm sure like a lot of people that you come across are like, oh, money is evil. Like
No, no,
money is
no.
something
It's a
that's like,
blessing. It's a blessing. Money is a
right?
blessing.
Yeah. And so whenever I come into like the spiritual space and the art space, I think the only real valuable thing that I have to give people, because we already have that soul, we already have that passion. Sure, we don't have our habits straight. Go read James Clear and incorporate that. You'll get your habits straight. The philosophy of money to me is the only thing that's really missing, and
Yes.
how to get that. So the way that I'm building that out currently is my mom, I'm at her dental practice, but
Mm-hmm.
she is not particularly business minded.
Mm-hmm.
So she wants to, a lot of us get into a space where we think we're business owners, but really we're employees. We're glorified employees,
Yes.
right? And the guy from Rich Dad Poor Dad, he came up with a very simple matrix. It's like this, right?
Mm-hmm.
On one side of it, you're an employee, okay? On another side, you're a small business,
Mm-hmm.
okay? Then on the other side, you're a big business or you're an investor, okay? So
Mm.
if you can imagine that right here,
Yes.
okay?
Yes.
Now, the idea for most of us that get into this space of online selling and get into coaching in general is actually one of being an employee
Mm-hmm.
or a small business.
Mm-hmm.
Both of these require you to work hourly for your money,
Mm-hmm.
right? So
Mm-hmm.
it's like okay, I work. My minimum is $100 an hour,
Mm-hmm.
and I will work 8 hours a day. Thus, I will get $800 an hour, and obviously that will all be taxed. And at the end of the day, you'll probably end up with significantly less than that, right? The
Mm-hmm.
other side of that is actually completely different.
Mm-hmm.
That the way that you make money is not based on your hourly pay, but is based on how valuable you are in the marketplace.
Absolutely.
So that's all I wanted to say about the money stuff. That's like a super fundamental basics.
Turab, we can take this further in some other in any other part of our podcast, and we can discuss more in depth the reason part of the business over passion part, because we have it. We will, just keep polishing that throughout our lives. There's no question about it. But the reasoning part is something that we should be learning more at a more conscious level, if you will, and especially for women, because they operate from an emotional level. They don't know anything about the money, the numbers, and any things like that. But this is something that and they need, I guess, their male helpers, because they're more visual, just like you just explained the metrics. um so if you don't mind, we can discuss it more in some other
Yeah,
part,
no,
the
no problem at
reason
all.
part of the metrics, and what you have gained, what you have learned, what you have absorbed, and applied in
Oh,
your
for sure.
business. That would
Anytime,
be
anytime.
fun. That would
But
be
yeah,
fun.
but please go. So I assume you have some vague, or at least maybe even specific questions that you want to ask. I'm gonna let you take charge here.
Mhm. Okay. So I was thinking, and I'm coming back to the passion part, okay? I'm all about passion.
Yeah, yeah.
So I was reading one of your recent posts. I think this is actually posted it today. It's about, I think, self-love. And I got curious. You said, and I think this is what you said. This is not from somebody else.
Hmm.
He said, I say no a lot these days. Most of the time it feels like shit in the moment, but I usually realize later that I said no because I have said yes enough to know what I need to love myself.
Ah,
Do you remember posting this? I just read it
yeah,
today.
yeah, yeah. No, for
Yeah,
sure,
yeah.
for sure.
So can you elaborate a little bit more? What were you thinking that moment? How did you come to this space? Because I know that saying no is a skill itself.
Hmm.
We always want to be nice and, say yes to everything, especially women and men too. And how did you reach to this point? And, what made you say that?
I think the best way to approach this, I always I have a bunch of quotes in my mind all the time.
Okay.
So the one that comes to mind is work on yourself enough so that you don't have the time to talk shit about other people.
You don't have the time for what?
You don't have the time to talk shit about other people, right?
Yes,
So work
yes.
on yourself so hard that you literally do not have the time to do the other thing that isn't as productive. Now,
Yes.
that philosophy, I believe, will apply to anything we're trying to do, right? I think where people fall short, and you can correct me on this, is we don't choose like two or three things that we really stand for.
Mm-hmm.
Like we never really do the in-depth analysis of what are our values and what is something that we are not willing to sacrifice in this world,
Hmm.
right? Like what is inside of us that really moves us and makes us feel like alive and excited about the day, and what are we willing to make that a reality,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Once we get to that baseline understanding of what our value system is when we're trying to go, it becomes a lot easier to figure out which opportunities are worth our time and which opportunities are not worth our time,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because then there's a framework. There's something at least there to be like, yeah, where does this fit in the damn diagram?
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm not one to say that everything is always supposed to fit. I am very much about being in the moment and enjoying life and having a deep conversation when you have the opportunity. Um, so that's where the philosophy of the only time that you will be able to say no full heartedly, without FOMO, without any sort of doubt, is
Mm-hmm.
when you have said yes to that circumstance so many times that it has not turned out the way that you wanted it to turn out.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Like, like my mom has told me infinite things. My mentors have told me infinite things of like, oh, don't do this thing, don't do this thing. And I infinite times I've failed. And I've said, no, I'm gonna go do the thing anyway. And then I have to find out myself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right? And
Yes.
there's no better teacher than life. So that's kind of where that comes from.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes me, ask another question. Uh, who was Saurabh a year ago and who he is like sitting here talking? Uh, I have seen you grow a little bit, not a lot because you were out of my city. But I can see the growth in you, the maturity that you were, when we met last time. I can tell definitely. But I want to know from you, what different person have you become over the last year?
Thank you for all the wonderful questions, honestly, and the opportunity again. Really, really, really appreciate it.
Yes.
And I hope we can do this again, to be
Yep.
honest. There was so okay. So in dental school, I'll tell you right now, I went to dental school. I got into dental school in 2018.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And that was I had a 3.4 in college. I spent most of my time not caring at all about school, at all about my courses. I spent most of my time, in fact, cultivating my relationships and understanding who I was as a person.
Mm-hmm.
I spent a lot of time reading and like analyzing and just doing weird college stuff. Okay. Then I had to do that. I did a year of post-bac in order to qualify me with my shitty GPA to
Mm-hmm.
be able to get into dental school. Okay. And that period, that transition period was a make or break for me. I was in Philadelphia alone. I had never been to city, and I had to learn all the skills. I had to build on the skills that I had built on in junior and sophomore year of college, which
Mm-hmm.
was cooking for myself, driving, making friends, whatever, reading, whatever. I got into dental school. The entire thing was prove to yourself that you can work as hard as the most intelligent people in society. Prove to yourself that you have the ability to sit in a classroom with those people and to match brains with them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Went through dental school, realized it was too structured, came up with a bunch of organizations, started interacting with administration, really caring about the culture. I consider myself a cultural engineer.
Mm-hmm.
So that was basically all throughout dental school. Was I was studying and I was also creating organizations and coming up with initiatives and this and that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, which allowed me to think a lot about leadership, which allowed me to think a lot about structure, systems in general. Power was a motif that I was really trying to understand from post-bac year all the way through even now.
Mm-hmm.
What does it mean to be a powerful individual in society, right? somewhere at near the end of dental school, I had not finished the requirements that most of my peers had finished, right? So my peer group, my friends had finished all of the requirements that they're required to graduate by the time I was essentially starting to be able to get the patients to finish them up.
Okay.
Okay? Meaning I was drastically behind the vast majority of my cohort. Okay? To the point where people are like, dude, you're gonna drop out of dental school, like you don't know what the hell you're doing. Mind you, I spent my lunch hours playing shows for people at the cafeteria out of an organization that I created to uplift people, right? I
Okay.
was like out doing public service events. I was like part of community event. I was like painting murals on walls and shit, right? So like I knew that like I had something in me that other people didn't have,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah,
But then I was like, okay, well, where the hell is the disconnect, man? Like you clearly are a passionate person. You clearly can get things done, but here you are slacking completely in something that you're expected to do,
yeah, yeah.
right? And then I came across Grant's videos, and he's like, yo, you want to do something in your life? You want to like actually do shit? Like you need to stop thinking money is evil, right? You need to stop thinking
So did
that.
you think money is evil at some point?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I was like, oh, you know, who wants to make money? I'm just gonna sit here and make artwork, and oh, I'll just like I'll figure out a way to do the dentist. I don't know what the hell I was thinking. I think I was in some sort of dreamland, right? I had this mission of actually helping communities. I had this mission of like being a cultural engineer and this mission of knowing what power is, and
Hmm.
yet I didn't understand that the basis of power is money,
Hmm.
right? So
Yeah.
I got to that point by connecting that, and then immediately I was like, okay, well, shit. It looks like everyone that's making a substantial amount of money in society is incredibly disciplined. They have a vision and they work at it all of the time, which is discipline, but they're also just they're unique, weird, quirky people. Which
Hmm.
like I looked at myself, my soul, and I was like, dude, you have these qualities. It's just a matter of manipulating them to get where you want.
Mm-hmm.
So So by that time, I was like, okay, now get all your dental school shit straight, get the patients, get all the stuff done, show these people, that you're like way better than they ever could imagine a dental student can be.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, go and prove to them. And mind you, I went through a lot of shit because at this point, the administration thought that I was some sort of slacker, right?
Hmm.
So
Yes.
they like patients, like they made me redo procedures that
Yes.
I had completed all the way through. But
Yes.
they're like, no, you're lying about this, right? And
Goodness.
mind you, for my practical exams, I got out of my practical exams in 2 hours, where other people took 6 hours to do them.
Hmm.
Okay,
Interesting.
so I've
Yeah.
always had hand skills. I've always like, and I've always been. All my patients always love me because I actually care about them as human
Yeah.
beings. So like, and administration will never see these things. Right? I could rant about this all the time. But
Yeah.
anyway, so I went through absolute hell. My mom is giving me hell. She's like, dude, what the hell? Like, well, you don't want to be a dentist. Like, your life is whatever, whatever. And the entire time, as soon as I got that message from Grant, I had to go and buy a new phone. I
Mm-hmm.
bought the iPhone 15 from my mother's money. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
the day I bought the iPhone, I started recording videos. So if you go on my YouTube channel,
Yeah.
ever since that day, I have posted a video on YouTube.
I'll do that. I'll do that. So I okay. I don't didn't want to interrupt you. I feel like after listening to your story and all, I feel like that was the journey of transformation for Turabify kind of began with this new phone that he bought from his mother's money and started making YouTube videos and it started expressing. I haven't watched those videos yet, but I'll see what you're talking about over there because you're kind of pouring out whatever you are maybe your thoughts, your feelings, what are you sharing on those videos?
So I I want to there's two main things that I want people to feel when they interact with Turabify, myself in
Mm-hmm.
general. One of the things is that humility, because I don't want to be someone that's completely like very wealthy and feels like an asshole to other people.
Yeah, yeah,
Right? So
100%.
that's so a part of Turabify is essentially being a journal for my life. Is saying that
Mm.
there's billions of people that exist in humanity. I
Mm.
am merely here to give you my account of things.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean it's correct. It's just something. Here you go, have it. Okay? That's what they are. They're essentially journal entries. The other thing is the slogan for Turabify is actualize your potential catalyst.
Mm-hmm.
This world needs you.
Yeah, I've heard that.
So catalyst is something that I think it comes from, I think, of a lot of society, a lot of people in society do not believe that them being in a place, them being a part of a company, them being on an e-board or being in a crowd, that their presence does not matter. It does. It matters tremendously. In fact, it's the only thing that matters.
Mm-hmm.
So to be a catalyst and to allow yourself to categorize yourself as a catalyst in society, someone that lowers the activation energy of a chemical reaction, of a social reaction, to make it come to some sort of conclusion. If you give yourself the permission to be that person,
Mm.
and you give yourself the love in order to be that person,
Yes,
you can change everything. You
absolutely.
become so much more responsible for your time.
Mm-hmm. And you can become influential. You can just influence the energy of the whole environment if you kind of realize your own self-worth, that you're worthy of it, and value, start valuing yourself, your purpose. Yes.
Alex Hormozy says something very, very important, um, which is how do you get self worth,
Mm.
right? So a lot of people are like, oh, I'm not at a stage where I can go and speak in front of all these people, whatever, whatever. It's simple. You prove to yourself through data. If you want to be an artist, if you want to be a painter, you must paint every single day,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And then there is nothing in your mind, logically, spiritually, emotionally, that you can say to yourself that I am not a painter because you paint.
You have done that. You have done that. You
You
have
know what I
collected
mean?
all the data.
Yeah. You it's simple. You don't have self-worth, get the habits together and do the thing and you will get self-worth and then eventually you'll get to a point where if you want, you
Yeah.
get to a point where you can genuinely affect the environment around you.
Yes. 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 Absolutely. I love the idea of getting the data. Create your own data. Create it. Collect it. And prove it
Right?
to yourself. Prove it to the world.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, I have a few questions for you since you've been so kind to have me on here. Um, what is what is something what is a goal of yours? Like what is your life purpose? Like what if I were to ask you to distill what you are trying to accomplish, where are you headed?
Uh, it's very fluid. It sounds like sounds like Miss World is talking to the the audience, to make the world a better place, less mean, less cruel, less selfish, more caring, more kinder, to make the world a better place and impact others, but at the same time serving them in a way, in a valuable way, that they are so sure about investing in themselves with me that it becomes effortless for me. You know what I mean? I'm trying to say here. So yes, it's
So let
way,
me
yeah.
go ahead. So let me get this straight. You want to influence the world to be more compassionate.
Yes,
Does that encompass everything?
pretty much.
Is
To
that go ahead.
not okay, not
Yeah, please
everything.
correct me. Yeah, yeah,
Not everything. There's a
yeah,
lot to it.
yeah.
Become a better version of themselves, become better in all the areas of their life in general, by starting maybe in one area, which for me is going to be confidence, self-confidence. And then, if you gain a skill in yourself and you know how to connect with your deeper self to become confident and in your own embodiment, then you show up like that in all areas of life. You transform yourself, you become a better version of yourself, and then it becomes your, not only your reality, or something that you want to keep working on with passion, because you have seen the results by showing up more confident. So yes, compassion, more compassionate. As you ask me, does this encompass everything? No, it has more to it. It has definitely has more to it. For me as a woman, is it's hard to explain in a few words, just like a man would, in terms of numbers, just like you have read so many books, Jim Rohn and all the successful names. But for me, it's flowing every day. So many things out there that I can give to the world, that I will over deliver. I'm willing to over deliver just out of my own, inner generosity, if you will, or compassion or love, whatever you want to call it.
So there's something I came across recently that stated that the people that are the most giving, the people that are the most probably me and you, we probably fall in that category of like trying to
Yeah,
really deliver,
contribute. Mm-hmm.
give something to the world, right? Those tend to be people that are lacking something.
Mm,
So we tend to be people that in our earlier years, in our youth, in wherever, there was something where we were probably lacking love.
yes,
We were probably lacking that thing that we were trying
to
to
give.
get, actually. We're trying to get it by giving this thing, right? So when I asked you, where do you
So
want to go?
interesting.
Right.
Yeah.
So a lot of us, including myself, I have always been like, oh, I want to give. I want to give. I want to give. I want to give. Right, like a tree
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
bears fruit, and anything can have the fruit. But I was unwilling to admit to myself why I need to give. What am I trying to get back?
Same thing. Love. It's love. It's love.
Right? Yeah. So a lot of us that are trying to teach people these things, that are trying to be influencers, that are whatever, are
Love
trying to
it.
get this, yeah, are trying to get more and more love from the universe, from people
Absolutely.
around us, from our communities, right?
Absolutely.
So I think I think it's very important for people of our caliber, for people that are trying to do this thing, to admit to ourselves that where we're headed is a place of more love.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So how do we
Absolutely.
get that?
How do we
Right? So
do it?
that's the next hardest question. It's like there's another guy that does a lot of speaking. He has a little fast hand motions. I forgot his name. I'm sorry. I'll tell it sometime. But
Okay.
he says it's very important for leaders, because we're thought leaders essentially, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's very important for us to have to not have a philosophy that says I can't get that yet, but
Mm-hmm.
rather have a philosophy of how can I get that,
How can I? Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
right? So it's like it's a more problem solving type of philosophy. It's not limitation to begin with.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so when I think to myself personally, because I completely agree with what you're saying, like wherever you're headed in life, I probably want to go as well,
Mm-hmm.
right? We both want more love from the universe. We
Mm-hmm.
both want that, like that's going to really be the ultimate goal of all of this service that we're putting in, all of this time and effort, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how do we get that, right? And so I've spent a lot of time trying to understand relationships and group dynamics and men and women even, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like how women associate to one another, how men associate, how they associate, transgender, whatever it is. And the conclusion that I've come to is that love is a product of not only seeing the most beautiful aspect of something,
Mm-hmm.
but then also creating the environment for that to be the most likely reality,
Mm. Deep.
right?
Very
Yeah,
deep. Yeah.
like
To create the environment to make this a reality, that make the love a reality. Is that what you mean?
So for instance, one of my friends is a phenomenal musician, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like he makes music sometimes that absolutely blows my mind. I'm like, dude, this should be on the radio, right?
Mm-hmm.
I love my friend. I genuinely love my friend, right? So it is my job as someone that does love that thing about my friend and sees tremendous potential in that to curate that environment for him, right?
Mm-hmm.
In a sense that, okay, whenever I have a conversation, to ask him about how that's going,
Yes.
A, B, perhaps giving him strategies on getting closer to that, perhaps talking through roadblocks, talking through longer term goals about it, right? So that's kind of what I mean. So we see something in someone, right? That's like incredibly beautiful that perhaps they don't even see about themselves.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And we're like, how do we nurture that thing? And the first step is often convincing people that that is actually the thing that they want to grow themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And oftentimes it's not very hard to do if we're on point,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
If I'm genuinely correct about my friend loving music and creativity, then it's going to be very easy to get to the conclusion together that that
Yes.
is something that he wants to increase in his life,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely. Yes. Now I know what you're talking about because I do that. I'm doing that already with my friends and with my family. So it perfectly, I mean, it makes perfect sense to me. So yeah, yeah. The reason, if you don't mind, I'll give you a
No,
recent
absolutely.
example. Yeah. My one of my friends is getting married. I love her to death. She's my soulmate kind of friend. So
Mhm.
anyway, she's getting married. This is her second time, and she's very, obviously nervous about that. She's getting married after 10 years of divorce from another marriage. And I don't didn't even realize that I'm doing this by I'm kind of facilitating the process for her by just giving her different perspectives, ideas, and I didn't even realize why I was doing that. But actually, I was making that process easier and less nerve-wracking for her, and making it easy for her, easing through her through the process that she sometimes didn't think about. She didn't even think. She's so busy, just making preparations about everything should go right, and everything goes as planned and things of that sort, that she doesn't get she didn't even get a chance to look into the beauty aspect of it, because everything is has to be right and all that. And I'm nurturing that part of her, the emotional, the feelings part of her, and I'm like, how are you doing this? How have you, how have you, what have you thought about this? And she's like, I'm not thinking about it. I'm like, you can do this in that area. I'm not going into details here, but the romance part, or the loving part of it, the nurturing part of it, how are you gonna, so she's not thinking about that, but I'm unknowingly, I'm already instilling her that in her somewhere, planting those seeds in her heart already. That this is about respect and love, and how to take your relationship to the next level. Especially this is her second time, and she has all those doubts and concerns. So when you say things like that, when you were helping out your friend, absolutely, I can relate to that, because it's a similar thing that I'm doing, and I just realized that I'm doing it for her without, you know, at a conscious level. So this is very interesting. I love it. I love it.
I think it's a trait of very compassionate, kind of
Yeah,
aware people
yeah,
to
yeah.
want to do this for the
I love to when
you
my loved ones, when they're happy, it gives me happiness to the most deepest level. It's just me. It's just me.
and it gives us love back too, right?
Yes,
It's
it
like it's
does.
like
It
when
does.
when they appreciate what we're trying to do,
Yes, yes,
then they come back and they're like, "Thank you,"
yes,
right?
yes.
Now there was a quote that came up in Living and Dying with Grace that said, "When you are pleased with yourself, you increase resentment towards yourself."
Oh, yes,
Right?
yes.
So that's always been a balance. That's always been a balancing act for me because it's like, okay, the book Adam Grant wrote, Think Again, is
Mhm.
also it's a fundamental part of this philosophy. It's like I think a lot of times I've spent, and you could probably say the same about you. We've probably both spent a lot of time trying to change people, right?
Mhm.
Trying to like fundamentally affect their lives,
Yeah, transform
and
them.
being like, oh yes, we know. Yeah, we know what's best, you know. Like I swear,
Yeah,
uh,
yeah,
like the way that I'm doing things is the best, right?
yeah.
Um, and what I'm coming to realize more and more is that there we have to be very careful about who we decide to invest our time into,
Mhm, mhm.
because the the irrational part of us will think that we can get every single person that we love in our lives to turn out exactly the way that we think they should turn out,
Mhm, mhm.
right? That is like the emotionally irrational part of us. The
Yes.
rational part of us knows that there are things about every human being that we will not be able to understand by virtue of not living their lives, by
Mhm,
virtue of not being in their universe. And
mhm.
so that balance of like, okay, well, this is where we want someone to go, and this is who they really are, right? That's something that I've always struggled
Me
with my
too.
friendships,
Me
with
too.
my loved ones, whatever.
With some
Because
of them, yes. Some of my friends, yes. Who
right,
I will say with the loved ones who are not like-minded, who are like-minded, it was less of a challenge. But the loved ones who are not like-minded, who don't think like me, the friends who don't think like me, but I love them anyways, right? For them, I would say what you're saying is like change them, change their perspective, or change. It's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen, but just help them just be their better version, I guess, by talking to them about their goals, what they want, and challenging them, mostly challenging them how to take the next step and just move to their next level. How to just taking that challenge and accepting the risk and achieving it. So I, what you're talking, I can relate to only to the people that are not like-minded, I guess.
yeah, no, believe me, like I'm speaking from my heart when I'm saying these things.
Yeah.
It used to bother me so much until I got to the point where I was working so hard on myself that I can't talk shit about other people.
Yes,
You
yes,
understand what I'm saying?
yes.
So there's so that's kind of how this is all interrelated. So Cody Sanchez is also a phenomenal person to follow on Instagram, on social media. She is a woman that is incredibly driven, incredibly financially minded, incredibly socially aware. She talked a long time about a napkin. So she said, for instance, we have this napkin here,
Mm-hmm,
right? And she said that we're at the middle of this napkin.
mm-hmm,
This napkin is held up on the sides by rocks, right? On a piece of paper here.
mm-hmm,
If we raise this napkin, the people on that are holding down the other sides are gonna feel tension.
mm-hmm,
As we rise as people, as we grow stronger, as we grow more emotionally, more financially, everything better. Everyone on the four corners of this napkin around the periphery are gonna feel that pull. And that is going to make you want to not go, not continue going up. But at
mm-hmm,
some point, you're going to say, no, I'm going to keep going, even if it just makes people around me uncomfortable. And at
mm-hmm,
some point, those people on the peripheries will actually start coming up with you.
mm-hmm.
All right. And then you go into wherever.
Yes.
Right. So I think it's very, very important to realize, at least it has been in my philosophy of trying to be this influencer, this coach, is like, dude, the only heights that I can raise people up to are the heights that I've already been.
Mm. Yes,
You
yes,
know, so I have
absolutely,
to I have to understand what it means to be a millionaire before I
mm,
can convince people that that's something worth doing. I
absolutely.
have to know what it means to to love myself and to go through incredible amounts of pain and heartache that most people are not willing to do in order to convince people, or at least have a valid account
Mm-hmm.
why that life is even worth living,
Exactly, exactly.
you know? And that's kind of the catch 22 of trying to elevate people, or trying to cultivate that nth degree of a person, is we need to be doing that for ourselves. I think a lot of us get so lost in trying to help others that we just forget, like, I'm procrastinating right now, or I do I have goals, or
Mm.
what am I working on every day, or it's
Hmm.
It's a lot easier to look at the upside. That's all
Yes,
I'm saying. At least it
absolutely.
is for me. Yeah.
No, this is true. This is true. I mean, pouring our cups every day in order to give more. I guess this can be interconnected to some extent that we should not lose ourselves of who we are, what our own ambitions are in terms of health, money, relationship, it's about it's a balancing act and disciplining yourself, developing, atomic habits and again, keep yourself aware of yourself, where you're headed to, where are you going, where is your life going with all this, because helping other, I think for me is not my whole life, is a part of my life. My I have my children, my health, my social circle. I have so many. Helping one is just one of my wholeness. So
Mm.
I don't think if I don't pay attention to my health and my other relationships, this part, the helping others part is going to be nurtured. So it's important to keep the flow coming into this helping other part. Other areas are also need to be fulfilled. So they are all interconnected. They're not separate from each other. Um, and I believe in a whole life rather than just focusing on one and just keep yourself driving and then crazy about that without thinking about and nurturing other parts. So yeah, absolutely.
It's been a real pleasure chatting. Honestly, thank you for allowing me to rant. It doesn't happen very often,
That
but
was not ranting. That was not ranting. That was fun.
okay.
I was
I'm glad
listening with my wholeheartedly.
good. I'm glad. I'm glad.
Yeah. We
Uh
should have another part if you don't mind.
oh, 100%. I'm always down. So I'll just say actualize your potential catalyst. This world
Thank
needs you.
you. And you stay blessed, okay?
Uh,
And you stay blessed. Love
thank
you.
you.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.